What is up, and welcome back to our divisional breakdown post-draft. We've come so far in the offseason, still so far to go, but we've got a lot of things to discuss. And today we are discussing the AFC North. We've got the tough teams, the Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, the Browns, the Bengals, so many different interesting things to talk about right here. And we're going to kick things off with maybe your most controversial draft take right here, I think, belongs to the team out of Baltimore, the Ravens. They spent a pretty high draft pick, first round, on Rashad Bateman, number 27 overall out of Minnesota. And I think we like the player. I don't think we love the situation. Is that fair, Tyler?
No, we don't love the situation. We don't love it. I saw that Addison today, or well, not today when you see this, but recently did a video on why we should like Rashad Bateman. I disagree with Addison. I do not like Rashad Bateman in Baltimore. I think he should have stuck to his original opinion, if you will go watch that video, it's a great video. It shows his evolution from being right to being wrong, where he should have just stuck with his original take. But I suggest everyone watch that video. With that said, a lot of the original points that he made that he was saying before is what I would stick to now. The Ravens, they threw the ball the least of anyone in football, by far. Second, only team that was close. We talked about them on the AFC East episode, the Patriots and their offensive offense is what I called it. They were close, but the Ravens were way less, 80 less than anyone else in terms of pass attempts. And why would there be more pass attempts? I don't know. They said that they're going to run the ball. No receivers wanted to sign there in free agency. They drafted one in the first round because the only way they were going to get one. Nobody was ever going to sign there because they're not going to put up numbers there. They run the ball. They don't pass a lot. And I don't think that that's going to change. Why would it change? J.K. Dobbins, 6 yards a carry last year. Lamar Jackson averaged more than 6 a carry. Even Gus Edwards was competent, 5 yards a carry, and looked good, pretty good doing it. All of those running players are back, and all they lost was the incompetent Mark Ingram, not incompetent, but incompetent at this point in his career, Mark Ingram, who was actually getting in the way of the efficient rushing offense. They did a lot better once they removed his carries and gave them to Dobbins and Edwards. So I don't see why they're going to suddenly now become a pass-happy team. That's not going to happen. Maybe you give them a few more pass attempts, but I'm just not interested in a receiver that's on a team that's going to be last in pass attempts. It's not like the coaching staff changed. We have the same offensive coordinator. Now, this offensive coordinator, has he ever delivered a pass-happy offense ever? No, he's never delivered a pass-happy offense. Greg Roman is not really responsible for pass-happy offenses. He said that he would make new creative concepts. Really? He hasn't done that in 8 years. 8 years of Greg Roman. Where are these new creative concepts? I haven't seen any. So, no, they're going to continue running the ball all the time. Rashad Bateman has no ceiling. I mean, if you're hoping for a middling wide receiver 2 as your best case scenario, go ahead. Draft Rashad Bateman. Do that. But if you're looking for other players, I like other players better. I would rather take Rondale Moore or Elijah Moore over Rashad Bateman. I'm just not interested in 405 passing attempts. That just doesn't cut it for me.
I think you're 100% right, and I mean this is again a controversial opinion because there's a lot of people on Rashad Bateman, but as if it wasn't bad enough that they went ahead and drafted him, and you hate the landing spot, but then they got Tylan Wallace as well, and they took him in the 4th round, so they double dipped on wide receivers, and clearly it was a need and something that they wanted to address. But when we look at this team and we look at 2 rookies coming in here with the idea that also they're not going to pass a lot, it's just not a place I want to spend a lot of investment. Not to say I would never take Rashad Bateman. I think he's going to lead the league in a lot of yards per whatever. But when you add it all up and you look at the sum total, it's hard to have 100 catches, 120,
100 catches,
1,200 yards, and 12 touchdowns when you're getting 85 targets. It's really hard to do.
Yeah, he's not having any 100 catches.
No.
It will not be 100. He'll never have 100 catches in his career. Marquise Brown had 100 targets last year. Do we just expect that Marquise Brown is going to disappear? He's not as good as Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman is better, but I don't think Marquise Brown is going to disappear. And it's not like the Ravens haven't tried to draft wide receivers. This is the fourth day one or day two wide receiver in the last 2 years. Was Devin Duvernay really that bad? Might Devin Duvernay have succeeded on another team? I'm not sure that Devin Duvernay was the problem. Was Miles Boykin really that bad? Was he really like the worst receiver in the world? Or might he have succeeded somewhere else? Is Hollywood Brown really as horrible as we make him out to be? What about all the times he was open and they didn't throw the ball? Like, we say all of this bad stuff about Hollywood Brown, but I actually think Hollywood Brown at this point is underrated. And he still didn't produce anything for fantasy. I wrote a whole article about this. It actually came out the day we were recording this, which is May 7th. It came out on DLF, which people should go read it. I went into detail on the Ravens passing offense. It was an article about rookies who landed in the worst landing spot. I highlighted Rashad Bateman and Tylan Wallace in that article. And I basically just said that there's no ceiling there. There's no ceiling. Mark Andrews is still going to be the number one target, most important target in the offense. Hollywood Brown is not going away. And now you also have other players to contend to. I think Tylan Wallace is decent. He's going to earn targets in the offense too. How good do you think Rashad Bateman is? Even if he earns a 30% target share, we know how good that is. That's the best of the best. The best of the best players earn a 30% target share. Last year, 30% of 406. Well, what would that have been? That's like 120? I don't want that. That's the best of the best. If he's the best of the best, that's what he would earn. Best case scenario. I'll pass. No, thank you.
Ravens have had a decent history of drafting tight ends. Ben Mason is taken in the 5th round. I don't expect much out of him, do you?
Yeah, he's not. We don't need to talk about him. He's not. I don't know what he is, but some sort of fullback, tight end. I mean, we did this last year with Josiah DeGuara. Ben Mason is not worth the discussion.
So we go from a team who, maybe they have one player that gets 100 targets. If they're lucky, we're going to get to the Cincinnati Bengals, who could have 3 wide receivers get over 100 targets.
They did last year.
They right off the bat do something that's kind of controversial. A lot of people think they should have done something to protect Joe Burrow. Instead, they get his old buddy from college, Jamar Chase, to beef up that wide receiver core. Now you got Chase and you got Higgins and you got Boyd. Hey, Thaddeus Moss.
No.
But the Cincinnati Bengals, what do you think about the matchup here with Chase? And is there enough room for all 3 of these wide receiver targets to have value and produce their ADP?
No, there's not. There's not enough room for that. Tyler Boyd, you can take Tyler Boyd and put him out to pasture. He is just going to be what he is, which is a replaceable, okay NFL talent. Tyler Boyd has more in common with Sterling Shepard than he does with actually good players who are difference makers. Tyler Boyd is not a difference maker. He got massive volume. He was inefficient on that volume. And that's why they drafted a real number 1 receiver, I might add, in Jamar Chase. A solid alpha, amazing profile, perfect draft receiver. That's what they did. And then T. Higgins. I love T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins is a great prospect. I think we're looking at something like what Atlanta had or what Tampa had. We're looking at an amazing duo of receivers. If anyone is low on T. Higgins because of Jamar Chase being drafted there, go buy T. Higgins now. Go buy T. Higgins now. He is an excellent player. He has alpha wide receiver traits. He is very good. Yes. Should the price have dropped? Yes. Should it have dropped as much as people are dropping it? No. You should buy T. Higgins now. Tyler Boyd, get him out of here. I don't have any interest in him at all. I think you have 2 alphas on this team. When you have 2 alphas on a team, you usually don't want the other pieces if the 2 alphas are healthy. And look at what happened in Tampa. Even with Jameis Winston's 5,000 yards, did we really want anyone else? No. We wanted the 2 alphas. That's who we wanted. In Atlanta, we wanted other players when Julio wasn't healthy. But when Julio and Ridley were on the field, who did we want? We wanted Julio. We wanted Ridley. Everyone else, we were talking a wide receiver 3 at, sometimes we had back end wide receiver 3 to wide receiver 4 production. That's Boyd's range. I ranked him at wide receiver 39 for 2021. I am not interested in Tyler Boyd. Better players have arrived. As we know, Peter Howard says this all the time. Targets are earned. Target share is earned. Better players have come in. And that means that worse players like Tyler Boyd will lose their targets to the better players. And I don't want to hear about AJ Green's vacated targets and what he did on his 104 garbage vacated targets. I don't want to hear about that because Jamar Chase is going to earn more targets than the corpse of AJ Green earned last year. And I expect a major step forward from T. Higgins, who had the second most targets on the team last year with 108. I expect a major increase in T. Higgins' target rate. He's the receiver I have projected the highest for 2021, round wide receiver 23. I have Chase at wide receiver 26 for 2021. In Dynasty, obviously, I'm expecting Chase to be a long-term wide receiver 1. I have him Dynasty wide receiver 8.
Hard to disagree on Tyler Boyd. I think there's plenty of room for 3 weapons in this offense. There's not a viable tight end. There's a running back that he could be involved, but we just haven't seen it in Joe Mixon. And I think this is an offense that, look, last year when he was healthy through 10 weeks, Joe Burrow was second in the NFL in pass attempts.
Doesn't matter.
Behind only Tom Brady. That is going to be an offense that I want a piece of. And while I agree the ceiling for Chase and the ceiling for Higgins is higher, I know what Tyler Boyd's going to be. He's a reliable slot receiver. He is going to be somebody who's going to be open. He had the trust of Joe Burrow last year. He's going to have it again this year. Just because he's not going to be the same high-end receiver as Higgins and Chase, I think he's going to get 100 targets. He's done it 3 years in a row. He's going to do it again.
You want Tyler Boyd with 100? You want Tyler Boyd with 100 targets? You want Tyler Boyd?
I know who he's going to be. I don't think he's but that's basically what he's been.
I don't want any Tyler Boyd with 100 targets. I mean, Tyler Boyd with 100 targets is worthless. If that's what he gets, if Tyler Boyd gets 100 targets, I don't want any part of Tyler Boyd. He's
like 35 receivers that are going to get 100 targets, and he's going to be one of them.
But I don't want Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd's 100 targets are worthless. I don't want that. What does that do for you? That's a back end wide receiver 3. If all 3 remain healthy, is his ceiling. I don't want that. I don't want that on my team. I mean, that's the ceiling. 100 targets from Tyler Boyd. He had 110 last year. It wasn't very good on those 110. I mean, it was okay, but like he turned those 110 targets into 841 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, he didn't score that many touchdowns. And like, you think it's going to get better? We haven't seen Tyler Boyd with 2 receivers actually ahead of him the whole year. You've seen him in his career as the number 2 weapon on the team. So you got used to that. You got used to seeing that's what he was. You think you know what he was, but that's what he was. That's not what he is. Now what he is the number 3 receiver on a team. And it's very rare that a team, how often does a team really support 3 fantasy relevant receivers? The Rams did it once. Other than that, I mean, I'm struggling to think of examples. A lot of times we've kind of come close, but usually the 3rd guy kind of gets squeezed out. I mean, even in Dak's explosion, Michael Gallup was not usable. Like, that's what you're looking at here. And it's sad, but like I said, I don't think Tyler Boyd is that good. I think he has more in common with Sterling Shepard, that kind of player, than he does. If you gave Sterling Shepard, Tyler Boyd's 148 targets that he had in 2018, or whatever it was, 2018 or 2019, the year he had 148 targets, he might have produced at a wide receiver 2 level. But if your offense is giving Tyler Boyd 148 targets, it's a shitty offense. It's awful. Your offense has to be terrible if you're giving Tyler Boyd 148 targets. And what do you know? I don't remember the Bengals offense being that good at that point. Now they've fixed it. They have their alpha receiver. Sell Tyler Boyd to anyone who, has Cal's opinion. They might buy Tyler Boyd. I have him in Dynasty. I have him at like wide receiver 45 or 46. I'm so out. I'll sell him. Just get me. I'll take. We just talked about Rashad Bateman. Give me Rashad Bateman. I'll take my chances with Rashad Bateman over.
Tyler Boyd's going to have so many more targets than him, but I'll.
Yeah, but Rashad, I'll take if the choice. I don't think it's gonna be that many more. I mean, I'll take 95 targets from Rashad Bateman over 105 from Tyler Boyd. If that's my option between those, if that's the option, I'll take 95 from Bateman over 105 from Tyler Boyd. In a 17-game season, Tyler Boyd needs 130 targets for me to care.
For the first time in, I can't remember how long, Gio Bernard is not a part of the backfield in Cincinnati, and they did spend a 6th-round pick on Chris Evans. Any interest?
None at all. They specifically said that Joe Mixon, they never want him to leave the field. I have no interest in Chris Evans. Samaje Perine is their backup. And they're the one team that, like, we wanted them to use Trevion Williams a zillion times. Did they ever listen to us? No. We wanted them to give Rodney Anderson a chance on the field. Did they ever do that? Nah. So, no, they're just going to play their boring veteran and Samaje Perine. I don't think Chris Evans sees the field. No interest.
We moved to Cleveland, where, you know, there's a lot of excitement about this team. I like a lot of things that they did during the offseason, but they still have the majority of the weapons that they did coming into the season as far as offensive weapons. 3rd round, they go out and get Anthony Schwartz. 6th round, they get Demetric Felton. But other than that, nothing else super exciting that they did in the draft. What do you think about the Browns draft?
I mean, whatever on Anthony Schwartz. It's not who I would have chosen. That's what they did. I mean, he's a speedy receiver. It kind of does bring in the dimension to their offense that they don't have. So from that perspective, I like it. I just think there were better players available at that time that I would have taken over him. In Dynasty, stash him, I guess. I mean, he was a 3rd-round pick. Don't ignore him. He's a name I'd heard of. I mean, he's not like a nobody or anything. So put him on your team. You know, we know OBJ struggled with injuries over the last very long period of time. He's struggled with injuries coming off an ACL tear. Who knows if he's going to be 100% healthy. If he can't play, then Anthony Schwartz is going to be on the field in 2 wide receiver sets. I don't have any faith in Rashard Higgins to do anything. Donovan Peoples-Jones I've never liked. So I think Anthony Schwartz, is going to deliver what they expected Donovan Peoples-Jones to deliver, that speed role. Not sure how usable, though, that's going to be for fantasy. I think what you'd have to hope for is that he flashes in year 1, and that makes him decide to, you know, go to someone in year 2. But they've been chasing this forever. Remember that they picked Antonio Callaway a long time ago? Like, they've been trying to add these kind of, like, project receivers for a long time. It's never really worked. So, I mean, he's worth a stash in like the 3rd round, but I wouldn't go crazy over Anthony Schwartz. Demetric Felton, I mean, he's not going to play. How's he going to play? How's he going to get on the field? Right?
There's no real hope, I guess, from what we know. You know, although last year we would have said the same thing about somebody like Salvin Ahmed, who we already talked about. So,
Salvin Ahmed changed teams. I mean,
if you're super like late in your draft and you can stash them on a taxi squad, we know that the Cleveland Browns can run the ball. They can run it well, and Stefanski wants to do that. So, you know, opportunity comes up, sure.
Yeah.
But
you never know.
It's not somebody I'd be excited about.
He'll make the team. I expect him to make the team as their RB3 because they have 2 veteran running backs. They can have their 3rd guy be a little bit of a project, and he's a versatile player. I think he should be able to contribute on special teams, right? I mean, he plays in a variety of roles. So I think they can kind of train him or maybe use him as a returner or something. So they'll find a space for him to keep him there as their RB3. And, you know, he needs Chubb or Hunt to go down, but we know that Chubb struggled with injuries last year, and Hunt, Hunt was kind of tired at times. So even if he didn't miss any games, there's a possibility. But again, we're talking about like the longest of long shots. I think Chris Evans has much more of a path to playing time than Demetric Felton. Demetric Felton, he's not even going to touch the field unless there's an injury. If Chubb and Hunt stay healthy, he never touches the field at all.
if Cleveland has their way, obviously that's going to, he's not going to be able to see the field at all. And, if Pittsburgh Steelers have their way, their rookie, though, is going to see the field a lot. And we've got in the first round, Najee Harris. He was the best running back. This seemed to be a spot where it's an offense that you would want a piece of the number one running back because Mike Tomlin likes his bell cows. And he found one, I think, in Najee Harris.
Yes, he did. I am all in for weirdly enough, more so for 2021 than for Dynasty, just because he's older. He's already older than a lot of running backs already in the league. I mean, he's a year and a half older than Cam Akers. He's a year older than JT, year older than Swift. So in Dynasty, maybe I'm a little bit lower on him than most, but for 2021, he's getting all the volume. I mean, we know who they have there. We know my nicknames for these people. We know the committee of McFailure, Snail, and Mirage. Those three, I don't need to talk more about how awful they've been in their careers. They all are just not acceptable. So Harris is getting all the volume. I think we can expect 300 carries. 300 carries. A 17-game season, I think he hits 300 carries. I think he's going to get all the passing game work. I don't think they want Najee Harris to leave the field. You don't want, if you're an NFL team, you don't want Benny Snell anywhere near the field. We're running. Oh no! 10 seconds have passed and we still haven't made it to the line of scrimmage. We don't want that on the field. Anthony McFarland never could get on the field, and I don't need to talk more about Kalen Balash. So they're going to give him every bit of work he can handle. I have him as an RB1 in redraft. In 2021, I have him as an RB1 just based on the volume. I think the volume is completely secure. In Dynasty, I have him as RB10. So I have him as an RB1 right away. And I think it's an interesting debate because in one QB leagues, the two competitors for 101, rookie 101 are in this division. I mean, we have Chase and Harris. For me, those are the two competitors based on just the way that I play. Harris versus Chase is the debate. I personally would go with Chase because I think he's not once in a lifetime, but he's the best wide receiver prospect in the last 5 years for me, who landed in a perfect landing spot. So I would go with Chase at the 101, but Harris is clear 102 for me. And those two are a tier for me in one QB at the top of rookie drafts. But I can't say anything negative about Harris's opportunity. I can't say anything negative about Harris's talent. I can't say anything negative about Harris's draft capital, which was in the first round. So he has opportunity, he has talent, he has draft capital. So he has those three things. The one thing he doesn't have is a good offensive line. He doesn't have a good offensive line, and the offense is a little bit questionable with Big Ben being a little bit up in the air. But he has the big three of talent, opportunity, and draft capital. So when it comes to that, I'm all in on Najee Harris.
I do like that in the third round, they drafted a guard. In the fourth round, they drafted a tackle. So they spent some time trying to upgrade that offensive line. But maybe most importantly, in the second round, they drafted a very good run blocking tight end in Pat Freiermuth, who also happens to be a pretty good red zone type tight end that could score a lot of touchdowns. I am torn about what I think about Pat Freiermuth just because I think that he could be used to block more than we want in fantasy.
Yeah, I'm disappointed with the pick entirely. I think they needed to pick an offensive lineman there. I think they waited too long. I'm just not that interested in Pat Freiermuth. I criticize the pick because they're going all in. I mean, this is Big Ben's last year, and you take a rookie tight end who's barely going to play. I mean, rookie tight ends we know, other than Kyle Pitts, is a unicorn. Like, Pat Freiermuth, I don't think he's going to really see the field. I think Eric Ebron is going to be the starter. And I think you'll see Pat Freiermuth used as a blocker, like you said. But I don't know. How often are they going to put two tight ends on the field? Almost never. I mean, if one team that you think for me, this is a terrible landing spot because you're never going to use 12 here. I mean, you have Claypool, Deontay, and Juju. Those guys are not coming off the field. I think you're going to see more 10 personnel than you see 12. 10, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, 10 is 4 wide receivers. 12 is 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. So I think you're going to see more 4 wide receiver sets with James Washington in the mix than you're going to see taking one of those big 3 wide receivers off the field to put Pat Freiermuth on. You're not going to see that. So the only time that Freiermuth is going to play is in place of Ebron in like heavy sets, or when it's a run play, clear run. And what? I don't want that guy. I just think it's going to be a long wait on Pat Freiermuth. You're going to be waiting for a long time, and I usually say that just unless it's going to be a first round tight end who might flash and price go up, these kind of second rounders. I know it worked out with Cole Kmet last year. He beat the odds and saw more opportunity than we thought he would. But, the year before on Irv Smith, you were better off waiting. You're better off waiting and then buying him after 2019. And I think that's what we're going to see with Pat Freiermuth. I think his value is going to go down after 2021. Mike Gesicki, another one. After his 2018 rookie season, his value went way down. And if you had bought there, then you would have made a tidy profit. I don't really recommend picking Pat Freiermuth in rookie drafts unless if it's tight end premium, maybe, but in a regular 1 QB non-premium, I think I'll just pass on him and go for a receiver or running back in that range that I like better.
And with that, we'll wrap up our coverage of the AFC North and hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, disagreements, anything like that, put your comments down below. While you're there, make sure you're subscribed. You want to make sure that you are getting like not only the best content in Dynasty League football right here, but you've got amazing videos from Addison. We've got a lot of live content coming your way. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the notification button so you know when we're live and you got a new video, and you'll be able to see it right away. And then give us some comments, like it. Follow Tyler on Twitter. Follow me. Follow DL Football. You want to make sure you're keeping up with the content. There is no off season. We're loud right now. There's a lot of things to talk about. So for Tyler, for DLF, for me, we'll see you on the next show.